everyone. Welcome to the Fingerprints podcast. We're your hosts, Nicole and Phoebe.
Today, we would like to introduce you to our next guest, Chimdi.
Hi, my name is Chimdi Onyema. I'm 17 years old and I go to school in St. Clair's.
So, Chimdi, what is your story?
So my story, or what I'll be discussing about today, is about having to adjust to a new area while being a minority in more than one aspect. So, for all my life, I grew up in Nigeria, in Lagos specifically, and I grew up in a space of extreme privilege with a full household, two other sisters and both my parents there, and people there to take care of the house. And I went to private school, and just from this environment, I was very much shielded from the world because even in my school, it was a Christian school, and I was raised in a Christian household. So all my ideologies and everything that I had been raised with was continuously reflected back to me in every aspect of my life. So having to move to a totally different area with new people, especially people who are not from the same race as you, who most likely do not share the same religion as you, do not share the same ethnicity or culture, and when you do not have people who do not have that same culture, it becomes very hard to adjust and to learn and cope with what other people know and not finding that in a vast space. So I was very excited to move to a new school, but it was very hard adjusting, especially for the first few weeks, being only one of 3 Nigerians and I think one of 4 Black people, and it made you start to feel very isolated and lonely very quickly. It seemed that in everywhere I went or anything I did, there was an avalanche of new information that I was continuously bombarded with, and I was continuously learning new things, and it became very destabilizing, and I began to quickly question everything I knew, especially my religion, and it was really hard to cope with it. And I began to feel quite lonely and I just felt like I was the odd one out. So I'm hoping that in this conversation today, I'll be able to answer some questions and shine a light on how to adjust to a new situation, just coming from a place with totally different mindset, totally different ideology, and totally different background, and just hoping that people gain a new perspective.
So, when you talk about new information overload, what exact information are you talking about? Could you give an example?
I think personally that most people also had to go through an information overload, but for me, I guess it was weird with the bus system because we don't really have good buses in Nigeria, so we don't have to really take public transport. But getting used to the bus system was really hard, and walking around alone in city center. Remember, I got lost there many times. I'm not sure how or why, but yes, that was very confusing. Even till now, like ordering, I've never had coffee. But it's like I have traveled, but then we just never did these things when we traveled. Or I'll be with my mom or my dad, and they'll basically do for me, like ordering coffee. And I don't know how to properly order coffee, so sometimes they won't hear what I say, or they will get my order wrong. I think this happens to everyone, but it was just frustrating for me.
So, Chimdi, what made you feel the most lonely and isolated? How did you deal with that, the way you felt?
I felt the most lonely because I didn't feel like there were a community of people that I could bond with or get along with in the school, or people that I had common interests with, and that was really hard to come to terms with and trying to figure out what to do. And it took a really long time, but I think it was just natural.
So, what made adjusting easier for you, and what gave you hope to eventually feel comfortable in this new environment?
Gradually, I think adjusting just naturally became easier because you start to do more things more frequently, and then you just get used to them at the end of the day.
As you have experienced this period of time where you had to constantly question everything, do you think it was the time of growth, a time of fear, or maybe trying to understand yourself and your beliefs better?
I think it was a time of growth because it helped me to understand more about my religion and my Christianity, because I I worship Pentecostal Christianity, and that's a very flexible type of Christianity, and it's not as rigid or as structured. So I think from that I was able to learn more about the type of religion that I really wanted to follow, and just to understand more my Christianity.
So, what in particular made you feel so odd, and do you still feel odd sometimes? And do you think it's a negative feeling? Or maybe it's not about being odd, but unique?
I don't think I feel as odd anymore, because I think I've just gotten really used to everyone that's in the school. But at first, it was just really weird. It's hard to describe why I felt that way, but it was just not what I was used to basically at all, and it's just totally new. And I think you have to go through a learning curve basically, and just to adjust to everything.
How do you feel about the place you have come from now? If you had to encourage someone to visit Nigeria, what would you say?
I always say everyone should have a chance to visit Nigeria because it's really fun. I mean, we don't really have a lot of stuff to do, mostly because we just don't have the resources to do a lot of things, but we have good parties.
So, to all our listeners, visit Nigeria. They have great parties. And I just wanted to say thank you very much, Chimdi, for sharing this amazing story and reaching out to us.
Thank you for having me.
See you soon. Fingerprints, a podcast embracing uniqueness, featuring real people and real stories.